It's just me and the 101. So I'm going to be brief, and actually I'm not a fan of talking to people, I'm a fan of talking with people. So I'm going to just share a few thoughts, and actually, first it's just nice to be in a room, in an intimate environment where there's just some great, intelligent, creative, and innovative people who are committed to people in progress, and it's not every day that you have this kind of environment. So I personally enjoy this kind of work. I'm sure you all do as well. And as many of you can relate to, I've had more than my fair share of microwave almonds, sitting on tarmacs, waiting in airports, and all in this journey of what I call activating companies for good. And part of the reason why I call it activating companies for good is because it's very hard to decide whether it's CSR, sustainability, citizenship, eco-imagination, live positively, do one thing, ESG. There's a million different things out there. And at the end of the day, I think it's all about what we talked about before. It's it's the HP way, it's the gestalt of what's going on in your organization. There are things we can track, and there's things we can't track. So, after a long time on the road, I came back home, and my daughter Naomi, she's an 8-year-old girl, she's a very bright, creative girl. One day she'll be applying for a job at one of your companies. She wanted to do some baking with Dad. Now, I'm not much of a baker, to be perfectly honest, and she didn't want to make your typical chocolate chip cookies out of the refrigerator, cut them up, put them on the tray, and bake them. She wanted to make Parisian French macaroons, which I love these things. You've never tried. They're delicious, and they're not that easy to make. But we had a really good time doing it. We did the measuring, we did the mixing. I'm not going to show you a picture of the final product, but it tasted really good. But it was really only later that night that I really sort of thought about, what we had done together. Yeah, we were baking something, it was good, it was about making a sugary, tasty treat. But it was really about, practicing for her, gross and fine motor skills. It was about measuring. Right, big for an 8-year-old. It's about mixing and using utensils like that. And it was about using a common parlance in baking, right, to bond us together. And that's inevitably what happened, and it was a great experience. And so, when I thought about the big macaroon, so to speak, I realized, and I'm adamant about this, it's really time for all of us, leaders of organizations, to take a big step back and look at whether or not we're realizing the full suite of value from our CSR and sustainability initiatives. So today I'm going to talk about a little bit about, sort of what we're not thinking about. These are some of the things that are visually represented that I come across with in my life, and I'm sure some of them you come across as well. And now it's really thinking about, beyond just conserving natural resources, beyond just strengthening communities, beyond just reducing our carbon footprints. Sometimes it's about looking beyond the intended outcomes, and really thinking about, something's working really well in one area. Could we not steer it in a different area and it also achieve really great positive results? Is it possible to use CSR, sustainability, as a Trojan horse in the most benevolent sense? Trojan horse obviously has a negative connotation with computers and technology, but could we use it to achieve more systemic change both inside and outside of companies? Now, I just hired a 20-year-old executive assistant out of Annenberg. She's fantastic, and I recommend that if you don't have a millennial working for you very closely, you're making a big mistake. She's fantastic. Now, she didn't like the Trojan horse example. She liked the piñata example. There's lots of great tasty treats on the inside, right? We all know what's going to happen on the inside. Another colleague of mine likes to talk about CSR as the secret sauce, right? The secret sauce of connecting different things going on in an organization together. So you can pick. So what's important is to really look at these things in a different light. Maybe one that can be used in an organic, almost sublime way to foster innovation within an organization, to inspire employees to show up at work in a different way, to break down silos, to really get people talking the same language. And I'm sure you'll find in your own organizations that it's rare for someone in HR to talk to someone in marketing. It's rare for someone in public affairs to talk to somebody in operations or supply chain. And it's amazing what happens when you actually can bring these people together and sort of bind them with something that maybe hasn't been there before. And just looking at where we might find hidden value, I can give you a really trite example of something that reflects biomimicry or something from nature. But I'll talk about sausages. So it all began in the 1820s when Dr. Justinus Kerner conducted case studies and experiments to learn about the benefits from what had been causing many German deaths, and they found out that this was from foodborne botulism in sausages. And through experimentation in the 50s and 60s, found the inside of botulism. And ultimately it was found that botulinum was used to relax muscles. And lo and behold, one day we have Botox, a several billion-dollar industry. So sometimes it's about looking at things in a different light. I'm sure all of you can really think about the things that are going on in your organizations and how can we move the needle forward on things like health and wellness. I haven't heard much talk about that today. It's a huge epidemic in this country. We've got a soaring rates of type 2 diabetes in children. Obesity is running rampant in this country, but yet you don't hear so much about it in this CSR context. So thinking about CSR, beyond just the good, beyond just an end unto the, into the means, beyond just about creating good, but how can we really derive more value for our organizations by using it? Can we solve for spurring widespread innovation? Can we create cultures of highly engaged employees? Can we create stronger social connections within the organization? And can we fuel increased customer loyalty? And I want you to think about these things in terms of 3 trends: greater virtualization of the workforce, younger population of employees, and the unbridled voice of the consumers. And you can't not think about these things. And you can't keep managing organizations in the way that we were doing 20, 50, 100 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. So think about those things. And increasingly, it's not about the opportunity of leveraging CSR efforts, it's about the necessity of doing so. And I like to think about, as John was saying, really the next great wave of corporate innovation. I like to think that my organization, Saatchi & Saatchi S, which has really put the stake in the ground around activating organizations, about working with employees. There's a lot of great management consultants out there. There's a lot of great marketers out there. There's a lot of great people who are working in this space, and they all come to it with heart. We always saw, and we did, this is where we really started doing this with Walmart, that people are really the biggest asset in this whole equation. And if you can leverage 50, 100,000, 500,000, 1 million people globally, wow, that's really something incredible. And you'll guarantee you'll uncover value and successes that you could not have imagined beforehand. So for me, employees are the canary in the coal mine. If your employees are grumbling, if your employees aren't happy, if they don't like their supervisors, if they don't trust their supervisors, if they don't have a friend in the workplace, if they're not showing up to work with heart, how are they going to accomplish your CSR objectives? How are they going to even perform their own jobs? And so when you're looking ahead to the future, if your employees aren't on board with what you're doing, if they're not part of your journey, and having a CSR report doesn't mean that your organization is engaged. It means that people at the top created a CSR report. And I was telling Nicolette before, I'm waiting for the day when more than half of the pages in a CSR report are written by individual employees, not someone in a corporate conference room. Right? One day it will happen. So the next record will come from people, and it'll be about connecting, about linking creation and fulfillment for individuals with stronger, more sustainable organizations and with sensational brands. We were talking earlier about, what's the next great wave of of engaging consumers, and it's around community-built brands. It's about letting people have voice collaboratively with the organization, with the brand, and building the brand together, and about having their voice. And the flip side of that is the brand inside. Right? You want the employees on the inside to be a reflection of the brand on the outside. That's generally not the case. Most of the time you can walk into a company and you can get a coherent answer for a lot of different questions about the brand. Like, are you personally connected to your company's mission? Well, most people can't even tell you what the company's mission is. Can you describe what the company's brand stands for? Good luck. And can you name 3 company-wide CSR initiatives? You go into any organization that's over 5,000 people and you're not going to get many good answers to these. And these are sort of the real barometers. I mean, I go as an undercover CEO and I walk into retail outlets, banks, telecom stores, you name it. I've been everywhere. And I just will have conversations with good people, whether it's for clients or not, just to see. And most people can't answer these questions. And unlike the millennial and sort of the move to virtual work environments, those are really interesting challenges. They present a lot of opportunities. The employee engagement challenge has been one that's been here for an awfully long time. And it's not getting any better. People, by and large, are asleep at the job, right? And you say, oh, those are not my employees. But walk into any call center, factory, restaurant, plant, distribution center, talk to truck drivers, talk to marketers or people in claims processing. Most people are by and large checked out. There are a lot of people out there who feel undervalued, underinspired, and just not educated and not empowered to really do what you want them to do, what you hope for them to do. And not just on a business level, but on a human level. Right? And you say, those are my employees, but these are the stats, and this is from Gallup, 2010. Only 18% of employees are actually engaged, meaning they're passionate about showing up at work, they want to be advocates for change, they really want to deliver heart and soul to their jobs. But then you see the vast majority are either disengaged, Not engaged. So not engaged means they don't really care all that much. They're basically checked out. They show up, they clock in, they clock out. They sort of ride down the brontosaurus tail at the end of the day, and that's it. And then the disengaged people are the ones who are just sowing sort of discontent at the organization. They're the ones who talk about supervisors, about the way things are going, about executives and headquarters over there in that state, and who runs the company, and conspiracy theories, and I've heard them all, and some of them are pretty funny. But that's really, sort of the nature of the workforce right now. So could we use CSR? Could we use sustainability, which is about doing good? It's about changing the way we live. It's about changing society. It's about creating healthier societies. And what if we could use that to bring people together? Talking about, the millennials, just to give you a few statistics, and this is from, some stats from 2006 that Cone did, which I think are really relevant and poignant. But 61% of 13 to 25-year-olds feel personally responsible for making a difference in the world. 81% have volunteered in the past year. 83% will trust a company more if it's got a demonstrated commitment to environmental and social efforts. Volunteerism is on the rise. Really these are, and I check in with my clients and with their workforce. 79% of millennials want to work for a company heavily engaged in CSR. So this is the trend, right? And these are the people you're trying to attract into your organizations. Every one of my clients now, after I talk to them, they see CSR and sustainability in a different light. They see it as a way for a real strong play in talent. And a lot of them are competing with many of the companies right here. They're competing with Applied Materials for getting key talent to come to their organization. They're competing with eBay and Yahoo and Google and SAP and just about every other company in that space. And so this is a real talent play right now. It's not a question of should we do it or can we just do a report or this or that. And not only just about the content, but about the method of communication and about the method of bringing in the communication channels, the engagement channels. It can't just be about driving the message down, about compliance, about check the box. It really has to be about how do we do this collaboratively? How can we inspire you and empower you to be part of this journey with the company? So we talk about, return on investment, but we like to talk about as return on activation. So this is really where, we look at sort of what can these kinds of initiatives do, and this is really what we measure for. So when we go in to start a large culture change engagement, and at the end of the day, my company is really about, we're sort of shamans of corporate culture. We're the people who evolve culture. We don't do, there's a lot of great people, I'm still digesting what Gil said this morning. Gil's a great consultant. Gil can really help do the big strategy, really help drill down supply chain, really help sort of parse out the big management strategy. And that's not what we do. We do the activating. We make that happen across the entire organization, right? So we call it the little S, but it's engagement strategy. It's about building the communication channels, building the creative, doing the execution in the call centers, really building trust with white collar and blue collar. And I love them both, and both have so much to offer to every organization. And so really when you think about it, this is where having a robust CSR sustainability effort really is about brand recognition. It's really about creating a sense of community within an organization. And when you've got large percentages of your organization that are telecommuting and more are using sort of shared workspaces or drop-in centers, I had a great conversation with Malcolm Gladwell a couple months ago. We were talking about the difference between strong links and weak links. Using 140 character, tweets and Facebook, those are great for creating weak links. You can talk to a lot of people. But then what happens to looking at people in the eye? And what happens to even just, smelling people? I mean, we are animals, right? We have a sense of smell. We do read body language, right? We can look at and see someone smile. We can look at the way they hold themselves, right? And we can listen to people. And so what do we lose when we create this society of a virtual workplace? So this is where we can use sort of these things to bring people together. We can talk about innovation, about, boosting broader sustainability efforts by leveraging the employees. And we can energize employees. We can solve this engagement challenge by giving something to people that they really care about. And they care about it not just for the company. And I'm always astonished when someone gets really excited. We got 10% participation for energy reduction efforts in our corporate facilities. Like, yeah, that's really what I care about. That's what a 25-year-old cares about, is that? No. You also look about, like, what do we care about outside? I'm really into gaming for engagement these days. There's so many new things that are happening in this space. But look at the things that we do when we're not at work. We like to have fun, we like to be outside, a lot of us like to go online, a lot of us like to be in virtual worlds these days, and there's a lot of movement now to bringing some of that into the workplace in a way that's measured, that creates the ROI, but that creates the kinds of environments and situations that we naturally like to be in, right? Getting emails, getting some of the corporate sort of lingo is, at the end of the day, all not that inspiring, right? And part of this too is, this is a long-term play, guys. You can't launch something. It's really easy at the end of the day to do social responsibility. It's a lot harder to do social movement building. It's a lot harder to keep that going after you launch it. It's great to do something 1 year. What happens in year 2 or year 3? So at the end of the day, we have to come back to, we're human beings. We live in a consumer society. What are we attracted to? Right? What do we relate to vis-a-vis communications? What really moves our heart? And we can all think about the kinds of brands. We were talking about brands earlier. Do you like Diet Coke? Do you like Starbucks? Do you like Godiva? Are you an Audi driver or a BMW driver? We're drawn to certain communications, certain looks and feels, right? So thinking about that in the workplace, it's something that you can't ignore. And then, so what we see on the indirect side of all this is employee engagement, health and wellness. And I can't tell you right now at Sachs, we will never do an engagement where we're not setting KPIs and metrics around moving the needle on employee health. Because what we saw from the very beginning, really doing this with 1.5 million Walmart employees, is that people will naturally get the connection between environment and their own personal health and wellness. If you eat fewer packaged foods, you eat more fresh foods that aren't packaged that you get from your grocer, it's going to be healthier eating. If you're driving your car less, riding your bike more, and we can measure for this. So some of this you don't actually have to do more, you don't have to invest more, but it's just about connecting the dots and then really garnering the metrics and garnering the value. Because if you can show that employee health is improving, I can guarantee you your company's going to save millions of dollars. For a large organization, 30, 40, 100,000 people, you can move the needle on obesity, if you can move the needle on your smoking population, and there's still 25% of America is still smoking, you're going to save huge amounts of money. You don't have to look so far outside. You don't have to even look really to the carbon, although you're going to do that anyway. The health in and of itself is enough to make the case for all of this. So I'm going to just stop here, and I want to flip over and just show you something in sort of the, before I get caught up in Norton security scan.
Yeah.
So this is a piece that my colleagues did in London, and I think it's just really a beautiful piece for showing the power of bringing people together. Let's see.
Commercial break. A year after Liverpool Street Station danced, here's how one of the country's largest bands
Alright, so here's what we're going to do.
got together.
I think we may not be on the direct
You go full
line
screen?
here.
Now, here's what we're going to do. We can close it for a minute and let it load up, because I do want to show it. So, people ask me, so where, what is sort of the things that you do? And someone was asking for specifics. How do you do this in an organization? Who was it that was asking for more specifics? That we were talking in generalities today. So I thought maybe just to share with you, really the process that, we go about, really trying to do. I'm just going to let it load here for a minute.
Cancel that.
Okay. It's really just a process of decoding. So a lot of times what I find is that organizations, people will, come up with ideas, they think they're great, they're thinking about reducing and about zeroing out and doing all these things, but they build communications and they build platforms without really going out to the employees and getting their input, hearing what their challenges are, both in terms of showing up to work and being at work, but also what are they interested in their personal lives? Because again, so much of what we've based in sort of the methodology at SACS is built on positive psychology. It's built on finding the things that people are that will help them to make them feel good in their lives, and really finding the ways for them to connect to CSR in a way that creates a win for themselves, not just a win for the company. That's only going to go so far. We know that. How do you make this relevant to a mom, to a dad, to a grandmother, to someone who's working 2 shifts or even 3 shifts? Right, someone who's got bills to pay and challenges to solve for in their personal lives. How do you reframe the conversation so the organization is a resource, not sort of a pedagogical instructor? And there's so many tools that we can use to do that. And so part of this whole thing is about decoding. It's about, I like to borrow a lot from product design, using some of those approaches and bring them into the organizational context. Really looking at sort of what's the nature of the challenge here, and are we even really defining the challenge? So when people say we want to do more on CSR, we want to build out our sustainability efforts, I say what kind of value are you trying to capture? Really, what are you solving for? And maybe we ought to bring in your chief talent officer, maybe we ought to bring in your chief HR executive, or your SVP of public affairs. And then we can have a really robust conversation. We can sort of kill more than one bird with one stone. We can really do a lot of different things. But then once we start talking to employees, that's when we can really start taking their words, right? And really, when I say take their words, we really take their words, and we really ascribe the page of, whether it's on a web page or a guide or whatever it is, and it's their name. And it's about giving credit to people who are working hard, right? Executives don't need credit. It's about giving credit to people who really want it. All right, well, if we can do this, we can show it. Here we go. Okay. Okay.
Now an exclusive commercial break. A year after Liverpool Street Station danced, here's how one of the country's largest bands got together.
We all know what the song is. Can you get your employees to pick up an instrument and learn to play the song? Right? And that's really the nature of this game. Can you get everybody, not just the green teams, everybody in your organization to play that song? And then really the song is quite inspiring. Right? You don't need a different song. The CSR and sustainability is good enough. You know that it is. So that's really the challenge to all of you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.